Feel free to ask questions too, even though this is recording. I don't care. I'm just getting the information for people who are absent. All right. So it's a review of literature essay. Now in essay two, all right, you did a level two critique, which is, my labeling of that thing. It's really known as a literary analysis, a literary response paper, an aesthetic analysis, okay, because you're dealing with a thing that has a figurative level to it, not just a physical summary level. So that we could call a review of, a literary response. This is a review of literature. Please don't think like you're reviewing some literary work. This just means that there are sources out there, okay? There are sources out there about a certain topic, and you're researching that topic. Let's say you find 50 sources, which is not a big number, on some topic that you're researching. What are you going to do with all those sources? Are you going to read them all? We don't have any time. We don't have that time, right? Well, you should figure out some way to get the summaries of them all quickly, and many databases allow you to get abstracts. If the author doesn't supply the abstract, the editor or the database personnel will supply a publisher-supplied abstract. It's like a quick summary of what the thing is about. So even if you don't read the thing, you can figure out what it's about, and you should be doing that. Not right now, but as we get into this. However, let's say if you find 50 sources on something, you might realize there's really a smaller collection that represents the larger collection. And, or there might be 2 or 3 that are especially important. And they're especially well received. People, other authors, other critics refer to them, cite them, know them. And it's like these, you'll see them. I promise you. You'll start seeing these sources pop up, and you're like, oh yeah, I got that PDF. I got that journal article. Someone else is mentioning it here. Someone else is referring to it. Someone else is talking about that author. So it's as if there are a few sources that actually become seminal. The word is seminal. Just truly, a few sources become seminal, truly important to the topic you're looking at, all right? And what you should do as an author is you should take time when you're writing the larger paper of your analysis or your research or whatever, to somewhere at the beginning to put in a review of literature where you just summarize the seminal sources, okay? And we're not doing this in this class, but I could do it. All I need to do is bring in the material. I do it for Kent, where we look at maybe 7 journal articles, and 5 out of the 7 are going to have a separate section toward the beginning called the review of literature, where they just summarize other very important sources that are on or around the topic they're researching. Okay, so this can be treated as a separate essay in which, your job is just to review the work, to summarize it, and quickly evaluate it for your reader. All right? So what we are doing is we're heading into writing this essay about health and wellness, about college students and breakfast, and what we need to be sure of is that we ourselves are reading what other people have written about this, okay? And we also need to be sure to find a way to summarize those other sources. So look, what sort of articles have you read? I've already had you read 2 sets of articles. Okay, some of them, I think a lot of them have talked about, things like habits of healthy people. Okay, what's another general class of these articles? Some of them fall into the subclass of sicknesses that are caused by bad eating. Okay, so let's say if we've read 30 articles already, or looked at or skimmed 30 articles, I bet 10 of them would fall into the class of, say, something like ways to alleviate a chronic condition like soreness of bones or sleeplessness or fatigue or nausea. Well, this is the food you should eat. So it's looking at food as a sort of medicinal / / health benefit thing. About 10 of them would have been looking at food in ways how what you're reading now is just horribly unhealthy for you. You know, there were a few of them that talked about the weird way people run. Remember the zombie run? Remember the ones about the marathons and all that? So you can see certain like subcategories start to develop. And your job when you do a review of literature is just to kind of give the reader an overall feel of the sources that are out there. So what I've done for us is I've gone ahead, as I told you I would do, and I've found the sources I want you to summarize. So I'm not asking you to go out and find these. I know more or less where I want to go with this project, and the way I'm trying to teach you the skill is to sort of model it for you and say, I want you to write this, and then I want you to write this, and then we're going to do this and do this. So I'll give you that direction, and part of giving you that direction is saying, okay, I want you to write a review of literature on these sources here. So I knew it was going to take a while to open up, but it's going to take a little while on your computer, depending how cluttered up your computer is and that sort of thing, because there are a lot of photos in here, screen capture photos. I think they're like 20. Excuse me. So I've enabled it. I've labeled it nice and big up here. First source, right? Journal article. Oh boy. Now, when you look at this, I want you to kind of read it carefully, because I'll put in little like guidance tags for you, okay? And I'm telling you, hey, look, this is just a starter article. This is not the journal article yet. Let me show you how I found the journal article, okay? So I went online and I just typed in eating breakfast or healthy breakfast or something like that, okay? Remember, the topic that we're working on doesn't really matter all that much. It could have been how to rent a house, how to best practice for saving for the future, financial management, best practice concerning choosing your major. It could have been all sorts of things. So I want to ask you, some of you are actually kind of getting into this, but if you're not and you're like, well, that topic really isn't working for me, come on, breakfast. Well, you should realize the topic kind of doesn't matter. The content doesn't. You should see the moves I'm making with this content to lead us into where we want us to go for a best practice paper, and that's to make a thesis, and from that thesis to suggest a course of action. Okay, so what's the right way to do this? Especially when you have sources that can help you make the case. So that's what we're working with here, all right? So I just Googled this. I found something in Time, Health and Family, why you should eat breakfast and the best times for the rest of the day's meals. Okay, so the reason I have this picture here is I just want you to show you the actual whole title of the web article, the name of the person who wrote it, that sort of thing, the name of the website. And I'm doing that just to help you cite this if you ever need to cite it. However, I am calling this a starter article. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, in the middle of the first paragraph, I saw this. So still the same page, okay? Morning, don't skip breakfast. Reporting in the American Health Association journal Circulation, Harvard School of Public Health researchers studied the health outcomes of 26,902 male health professionals. See, that's the kind of numbers you need, you know? And I'm going to ask you to work with just 10 people when you do your surveys. But this is automatically going to be viewed as a study with weight, because it's coming from Harvard and because it has 26,000 participants. Are there ways to go wrong with this? Absolutely. Absolutely. The more you try, the more expansive your experiment is, the more likely you'll have people making up data, getting things mixed up, forgetting to go and collect the data, so they just sort of double copy a data set or something. And so, but nonetheless, it's going to carry a lot of weight. So you know what I'm thinking is I don't necessarily want to use this thing I found on the web. I want to use this. So how do I find it? All right. So so down here I say, notice that the first sentence after don't skip breakfast points to an academic study. This article for the AHH journal Circulation would be our first source. Okay. So the thing about AHA, the American Heart Association, is that they give you their journals for free, more or less. You have a lot of what's called open access journals. Circulation is one of them. You can just get the PDF. So I got the complete name. I got the authors lists. And then I got the abstract. Okay. Now, for writing a review of literature, what you're telling your reader is you're going to say, hey, reader, I know 4 or 5 or 6 sources you ought to know to get a general idea of how people are approaching this topic. Okay, so I'm going to review them quickly for you, because a review of literature, you got to get done in 1 or 2 pages. Here, it's probably going to be a 2-pager. It is best practice for you. It's something you ought to do if you were doing this seriously, for you to actually get the PDF and read the thing. Read half of it. Make sure you know it. And I definitely have the PDF at hand. I might upload the PDF for us, just so we have it here. But when you're writing a review of literature, what are you actually putting into your review of literature? The whole thing? Or a summary? Just a summary. Can an abstract help you write that summary? Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to just work with this. Now what I'm going to need you to do, though, is strive to understand what the abstract is saying, and then to put it in your own words. Okay? Now listen, I asked you to do an assignment about answering a question, and I gave you like, is juicing healthy? I don't know what I gave you, but, and then what's an empty calorie, and what's the difference between whole wheat bread and wheat bread, or something like that. And that was an easy 2 points, by the way, right? Because you just had to write up an answer and stick it into that discussion board. I'm glad to say many of you got 2 points out of 2. But yeah, I'll have another one of those. And you get another 2 points, and that's like making acing a test or something. But the thing is, some of you didn't put it in your own words. It's like you kind of copied and pasted something you found from an article and stuck it in there. And I don't want you to do that, all right? I want you to, unless you're using quotation marks, sure. But then I would have asked for a long quotation. I want you to put it in your own words. So perhaps we'll do a paraphrasing exercise. I think that's a good thing. Not today, but soon. And then we'll work at this. But you can actually just use this abstract. Read it, because it's going to tell you what the whole PDF was about. And then put the main ideas, because that's where the main ideas are. Put them in your own words. All right? So I want us to use this as our first source to summarize this abstract. All right, so let's go ahead and go down. It's a journal article. All right, a scholastic journal article, a clinical study. Notice it's about breakfast and heart attacks. So this might be sort of representative of a group of sources that talk about something like the health benefits of eating breakfast for a large group of people. For, in this case, adults, male adults. So it's beyond the college level, to be sure, and it's focusing only on males. But they came up with something to say eating healthy breakfast means good health in this part of your body, right? Okay, so let's see what the second source is that I found. It's a report from a research group. All right. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I'm going to zoom up here quickly. I know I gave you this. I'm not asking you to summarize this. The reason I started off with this is I wanted you to see the steps I went through to find that journal article. Okay? And it was just a process of finding Googling something and finding something like this, realizing that it had a link to an academic journal in its second paragraph, following up that link by just Googling circulation and Men's Health Study, breakfast equals healthy, or something like that. Breakfast, healthy heart. Breakfast heart attack. I think it was circulation, American Heart Association, breakfast heart attack. I just put those words into Google. Boom, I got the first hit was the PDF. I mean the article. So that's how I put that starter article up there, so you see how I found this one. This is the one I want us to use. I probably will upload the PDF to course sites just so we have it, all right? Okay, so second source, a report from a research group. Actually, hang on just a second.